All right, here we are. We're live. I'm Asia Mape from I Love to Watch You Play, and our guest today, Kirsten Jones, Kirsten Jones Inc. She's a sports parenting coach. Thank you again for joining us.
Happy to be here.
All right, today we're talking about a topic we get asked about all the time at I Love to Watch You Play, and it's motivation. Can you motivate a kid who isn't naturally motivated on his own? Kirsten, I want to start though with the definition of motivation, because I think a lot of parents out there might be wondering what is a motivated kid compared to a not motivated kid. And I'll tell you, it's pretty high standards for what a motivated kid is. For example, they love to practice and compete. They look forward to playing. They have goals in their sport and go after them. They work on weaknesses and try to improve. They hate to lose and have high expectations for their performance. Now, Kirsten, I know a few kids like this, but not a lot. So are those sort of unrealistic expectations for everyday kid?
I think those are very high expectations, right? For any of us, right? We like to be on the court when it really counts, but doing the practice and doing the behind the scenes stuff, showing up when nobody's there watching, it's hard to stay motivated. So that's definitely the norm, that you're going to have more kids that are going to just want to be on game day mode and not so much about showing up to do the behind the scenes work, right?
Yeah, and I think that's something that parents really need to just hear, that not a lot of kids, especially in this day and age, there are so many distractions, so many things they can be doing on their phones, video games. It's so easy to not just want to go out there and play all the time and instead to sit inside. Really quick, I want to say, if anyone is on with us, if anyone's watching this, please just type in a question, any comments you might have. The more interaction we get, the better. This is our very first time doing a live broadcast. We had a few little tough spots getting it up and going, but we're here, so we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear live anything you have to say. All right, so let's move into extrinsic versus intrinsic motivation, because I think we all know we would love to have our child be intrinsically motivated. But a friend of mine recently said, well, what's the matter with an extrinsic motivation? I mean, not everybody is going to have that burning desire. So what is there pros and cons to it? Do you think that, having goals like getting into a good college or even a good high school to be a motivation for a child to push hard in their sport, is that a bad thing, Kirsten?
I get that question a lot, right? And we want our kids to be intrinsically motivated. And sometimes we have to put a bar out there that they may not want to jump to in order to get to a goal. But we have to ask them and ask ourselves, what is our purpose in setting that goal? And what do we really want them to achieve? And what do they want to achieve? And again, as we get into them being a little bit older, they need to own what their purpose is. And so if you have a highly talented kid who is a really good basketball player, but only wants to play because he may get the scholarship, but doesn't want to do the hard work because it may not happen, then you need to work with him on understanding he needs to be intrinsically motivated. If it's only about the parents saying, hey, we need the scholarship in order for you to play at the next level, that probably isn't going to hold weight, because there's so much work that goes into him getting to that goal that just having the carrot out there isn't going to be enough to keep him going and keep him showing up and working hard. What we really want to teach our kids is them understanding that when they go after something and they put in the work and they are willing to do the extra push-ups and sit-ups and eat the right food and do all those things, then the goal and the payoff is what's going to give them the feeling of purpose. And when they have a feeling of purpose, they're going to be much more successful in life, not just in their sport, right?
No, for sure. But I think the tough thing is getting a kid to do all that for the purpose of playing more sports. Like, I think so many of those goals are parent driven, right? And not kid driven. But you don't want to say, okay, so you're not intrinsically motivated, just quit, right? Do you have to kind of, as parents, we have to push them along until they find that their own motivation. And I think that's where it gets a little tricky.
Well, and again, it depends on their age, right? So if they're really little, yes, they don't really understand what they should or shouldn't be doing. They're really looking for us to be their guide, their sage from the stage. But as they get older, we need to be more of a guide from the side. They're a 15, a 16, a 17-year-old knows internally what they're really passionate about. And if they don't, then that's a great research project to figure out if they're really not excited about playing soccer anymore or swimming anymore. Yes, we want them to be physically active because we know that's going to make them happier people. But maybe them playing rec soccer or doing rec swim is really what this kid is about because they actually have a passion for photography or something else, right? So we sometimes put our values on, oh, we would really like for them to have this, this path, when really it's not their path, it's our path.
Right. No, for sure. And sometimes it's finding the right path, as you pointed out. It could be photography. I have a friend he was a college football player, and he was just saying his little guy started in soccer, was literally a daisy picker out there, no interest, no aggressiveness. They really just finally said, okay, that's enough. He said, I really want to try football. And they were hesitant because of concussions, and they let him do it. And he was like a monster out there, like it flipped his switch. So sometimes it's about finding what really motivates them, where you think, oh, they're just not that into sports. You may have just not tried the right sport.
Yes, I do that exercise even with my adults. When I work with the parents and I work with the kids, is go inside and check in with your 8-year-old self. What really fired you up? If you were left to your own devices as an 8 or a 9 or a 10-year-old, what is it that you would do all day? And we usually all have an answer that comes pretty quick to us. And maybe it's not something I can make money on, or maybe it's not something that everybody is excited about because we understand, oh, that's got this path. But when you find a kid who finds that passion, then they will be intrinsically motivated. I have a friend who's a 50-year-old doctor, and she said, I was told at age 10, you're going to be a doctor. I said, well, do you like being a doctor? And she said, I'm very good at it, but I don't love it. But now it's who I am because it's how I pay the bills and it's how I support my family. We don't want to force our kids, I would hope, into things that they don't find passion about. We're all trying to help them figure it out, but to shove a square peg into a round hole for the sake of being able to say, my kid's playing for this college or at this high school or on this club team, you're not going to have intrinsically driven people who are going to ultimately find their purpose and are ultimately going to be happier people.
I know. And it's tough, especially when you have a somewhat athletic kid who could be great. And I think that's where a lot of us feel, well, we love us feel they could be great, but there is and they don't have the motivation behind it. It becomes really tough, and you find yourself, like you're saying, what is it parent driven, when is it child driven? And you really do have to learn the difference, because it matters, and it can make for a really unhappy child for quite a while until they find that happiness. We're seeing a few comments and people reacting. If anyone has anything they want to talk about or hear, Kirsten is very well versed in all this. She works with a lot of parents and families. We'd love to get any questions, comments, anything. Please chime in. We'd love to hear it. Today we're talking motivation. Can you motivate a child who isn't naturally motivated? What do you suggest when you're working with kids like that?
So we were raised in the generation of your parents kind of told you what to do and you followed direction and then you went off and executed. And it's a shift now. We're definitely parenting in a different way. And sometimes we're parenting to the point where the curve's gone the other way, where, oh, if they don't want to do it, then they don't have to do anything. No, that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is, let's be curious. And if you can find the curiosity and ask your daughter, what are you curious about? Why, what, and maybe it's about, if even if it's about school, right? I'm not interested in science. Well, you see something on the news that's related to the earthquake and science, how did that impact the people that were living there? You can start to make correlations for her that then trigger her thinking about something that she may not have thought about. We definitely do more top-down parenting where we tell them what we think and they should follow along. But really what we want to do is flip the script and have them own it and get the curiosity. So asking the 5 whys, I say. So what is it you're interested in? Well, I'm not. Well, what excited you about your day today? Well, it was kind of cool when we did this research project in biology. Why? And keep peeling back the layers of the onion. And you may find something that even just observing them or thinking back to what they were passionate about as an 8 or 9-year-old, what were they always doing? Because it's before there was any self-awareness over, they weren't doing it for your pleasure. They're just doing it because they're curious. Like, you know, they're running through the water because they're trying to figure out how it all works. And then you see them, my daughter now, we had the fire last week. We literally live right next to it. And we had to tape up the fireplace. And she was like, can I cover it up? And I'm like, yeah. And then she came back and she's like, she got a cardboard box. She's like, can I make my own fireplace? And I said, yeah. And she's out there painting she's making her own little world around what it can be. Like, great, explore, see what that could be. And she wants to be in the school play. So I emailed the director, hey, I think we have a set designer here. She's like, awesome, would love to have her be a set. You just don't know where the fun ideas and how it will come to be. But if we tend to squash, oh, don't waste my time. Oh, don't, dirty the living room. Oh, we squash all of their creativity and we don't allow them to really figure out who they are because we're busy. We got stuff to do. We don't have time for this, right? So.
Yeah, no, for sure. And also, in saying that, it also comes and goes a little bit. I feel like there's been times my oldest daughter wanted to be an Olympic water polo player for a while. And then she kind of faded on. She wanted to be an actress. I mean, they're kids. Yes. And their interest will come and go. And I will say, I think we're probably almost out of time here, but I will say that surrounding them in environments and with coaches who inspire them, I've found is extremely helpful and can change their passion and their desire. You never know. It can come back around. It rises and it falls. And you just have to surround them by as many inspiring people and things as you can. And hopefully they'll reach onto that and grasp onto that. Are there any parting words, Kirsten, before we hang up here?
Yeah, I just want to echo what you were saying, which is, and even if it isn't the coach, because sometimes we get the coach, but the kids want to be with that team. So we're not totally inspired by the coach, but find a player who's a few years, even just a few years older, or a college player or a former pro player, and have them mentor them, because a lot of times they really don't want to hear from their parents, right? So we can talk about it as much as we want, but when you find an external mentor of any kind, they can be a huge inspiration and say, what was your path? How did you get there? Oh, well, I had to do this and this and this. And so it's a reality check for them, but it's also somebody who can be there as a resource for them.
Yes, for sure. All right, Kirsten Jones, KirstenJonesInc.com. Always great to have you. We'll be on many more times talking about a lot of different topics. People, if you saw this and you have any questions, write them in. I'm sure Kirsten can follow up and we can get your answers for you. Thank you very much for watching. Kirsten, thank you very much for being our first live guest now.
Awesome.
All right, have a great day. Bye.